There is a phrase that says that, Africa is a continent of contradictions and possibilities. So I see this future a mix of both, in that you have the development, you have, the advancement, technological advancement, but at the same time, we will constantly have this, there will always be unresolved problems, conflict like in any society, or, lack of basically the basic services. Education plays a huge role, because when you have an educated society, a literate society, it means that then people are aware, are conscious of their rights. And so they demand their leaders, they pretty much make their leaders accountable for it. There is a huge difference when a child goes to school, because this child not only opens their mind, they see that there is another option to what they have right now. And I think if you look at most of the statistics of most African countries, is that education is pretty much low. Families, I mean, it's the basic unit, family. But in the African setting, a family does not only consist of what, in the West would be a nucleus, that is the mother, the father, and the children. In an African society, we're pretty much a communal, set, in that you have your extended family, like in my case, I have over 20 cousins, some who I know, some I don't know. So this relation is not on a superficial, it's very deep. And so when you have, for instance, myself, I've come back home from the West with all these ideas of, what a family is. I'm still very much conscious of what an African, family means. It's not just my mother and my father. It also means my aunt, my cousins, my grandfather and my grandmother. And maybe even an in-law, So they're usually the bond is much more stronger, and it's not as loose as what, Well, in a way, what is tradition, It's a very important component in any society. That's how I look at it. So on one hand, you have to see, is this tradition progressive, or is it pretty much taking you back? Like, I think the way I look at it is that I take good things within my tradition, and then I try and balance it with other, traditions. I'm an African woman, but at the same time, I'm an uneducated African woman that has been exposed, but at the same time, still very conscious of her traditions. South Sudan itself, what is the South Sudanese identity? I would question it, having looked at the relation between South Sudan and the North, there was the Arabic component. And if you look at some South Sudanese who speak Arabic, Arabic is not our national language, but we adopt it. We speak it. Does it mean that we are Arabs? No. But it is part of the South Sudanese identity or composition. So the way I look at it is that there isn't one idea that defines my identity. On one hand, it's a good thing, but then, there are always two sides of a coin. So the way I look at it, the Chinese intervention in Africa, on one hand, is good, but at the same time, it has its, it has its...
Drawbacks.
Exactly. And if you look at how the Chinese have pretty much intervened in Africa, their policy is that we don't care if the rat is white or black, is that what resources can we get out of it. So in a way, they put their national interest first, like any other country should. What Africans want right now is infrastructure, and so China is serving them what they want at this hour, and that is they want roads and bridges, but at the same time, shouldn't it go hand in hand with issues such as human rights and, even environmental degradation, basically. Yeah. So I think it's two sides of the coin. There is the good and there is the bad. The thing is that sometimes in Africa, the bad is like really ugly,